My name is Anthony Toda, and I live in the city of Jamestown, New York State. And I want to again address the terrible school shooting in the state of Florida, in which many innocent children were killed, and the reason that your children were killed. Obviously, the shooter is the direct cause of the deaths, but the shooting could have been prevented by the FBI and local law enforcement agencies who had probable cause to investigate and prevent the shooter from entering the school and killing your children. The responsibility lies with law enforcement, from the FBI to the local law enforcement agencies, who were made aware that the shooter was about to commit mass murder in the schools, who knew that the shooter had a history of criminal activity, had this enough information to establish probable cause to investigate and prevent the killer from entering the school and killing those kids. So the law enforcement agencies, from the FBI to the local enforcement agencies who have been established under our constitutional system to protect the American public, are directly responsible for these crimes and should be held directly responsible for the murders that were committed by their failure as a law enforcement agency or agencies to prevent a crime when they had probable cause to stop such a crime. Now, why would law enforcement agencies, again, having probable cause under a constitutional society to prevent a shooter from committing a crime, allow it to happen? The answer is clear. There are certain people in government, including certain people in various law enforcement agencies, including the FBI, who are attempting to remove your constitutional rights and allowing crimes to be committed to blackmail and intimidate the American people into the destruction of constitutional rights. And you can see it happening repeatedly involving the Second Amendment, in which law enforcement agencies over a period of years had the opportunity to prevent crimes, failed to do so, and repeatedly the same people, Democrats, certain people in government, trying to remove and erode constitutional amendments. It's happening over a period of years. Since Sandy Hook and prior, this trend of gun control and violence has continued. The repetitive negligence of law enforcement agencies and the repetitive advocacy of removing of a constitutional rights are definitely and directly related. People in government are allowing the American public to be intimidated by mass shootings and allowing the shooter to commit these crimes repeatedly until the American public capitulates into removing constitutional basic rights. You have to ask yourself, why do law enforcement agencies, when they have been made aware that a crime is about to be committed, fail to protect the American public repeatedly? And why certain people in government repeatedly spout the same theme of destruction of your constitutional rights when they are deliberately responsible for failure to protect the American public? Well, what does a law enforcement agency do? What is their job? Their job is to protect the American public. you have to ask yourself why they are not doing it. The answer is clear: to intimidate you into the relinquishment of your constitutional rights. It does not matter how many rights you give up. When law enforcement fails to protect you, you could give all your rights up. It has nothing to do with failure of law enforcement, from the FBI to the local agencies in this Florida case, to protect your right of life and liberty. Now, why would the Democrats continue to clamor for gun control? Why are certain people in government advocating gun control when they should be finding out why and putting resources into why a person would pick up a gun and shoot groups of people, commit mass murder for apparent no reason? Why this is happening? Nobody has addressed the cause. Why a person does this. Why this is a trend in the last 20 years or so, that many people, for apparently no motive, are picking up weapons and killing mass amounts of other citizens. Why isn't anybody addressing that issue? That is not going to prevent a person from the destruction of the Second Amendment, will not prevent a person who wants to commit mass crimes, as this trend has been recent and repetitive, from continuing to do it. It will not stop mass crimes until the government finds out why these people are doing it in the first place, puts resources into the cause of crime rather than the means of which it is being executed. Well, the answer again to that is clear. The government does not want to solve the issue of mass murders. They want to continue to intimidate the American public into giving up their rights. They are starting with the Second Amendment, and they will continue to erode other rights, including the rights of privacy and the rights of the First Amendment to speak out against government negligence, and then instead direct the American public's attention to the destruction and the advocacy of destruction of our constitutional rights. These are serious issues that Thomas Jefferson addressed, that have happened throughout history. That when you give up your rights, you give up your security and your rights to be secure. That's what's happening today, and that's why your government is not addressing the cause of the mass shootings that we're having, but rather trying to take your rights to bear arms and other constitutional rights away, while the American public is continuing to be intimidated by a lack of protection by agencies, FBI and local law enforcement, who are put in place to protect and maintain security. Thank you for listening.